para ipakita ang tunay na estado ng ating bansa. Ilahad ang mga pinakabagong balita at pangyayari sa ating bayan. Ipaalam sa taong bayan ang katotohanan at ipaliwanag ang mga hakbang na ginagawa ng pamahalaan upang manatiling payapa at maiangat ang pamumuhay ng bawat Pilipino. Mula sa Pangulo ng Republika ng Pilipinas, Mayor Rodrigo Roa Duterte, ito ang Talk to the People.
Good evening, countrymen. Again, we have to face the nation to explain yung mga issues. Importante yan na hindi kayo mawalaan ng tiwala sa amin, sa gobyerno. Otherwise, this nation would be in trouble. Alam mo, mga pera na sinasabi, billion-billion yan eh. Alam mo kasi itong panggobyerno, talagang hindi mo perfect. We're trying very hard to really comply with the law because it is the law. Ang problema, the vagaries of governance, hindi mo talaga maalis yung minsan. Well, of course, outright corruption. Yung iba naman, negligence. There are so many factors, omission or non-performance and all of these things would be reflected time and again, basta kaninong administration, lalabas talaga yan. But for today, I said, we will begin to talk to the people, and I would ask Secretary Isidro Lapeña, who heads the TESDA. Ito rin I think it was also, but he has a lot to explain. And parang flag rin. The vote of the day is nice, is spelled F-L-O-G-G-I-N-G. It's not flag, F-L-A-G-G-I-N-G. Yun ang ngayon eh. Ngayon, before we go to itong mga mga anomalya, let us hear the TESDA make the report. Secretary Lapeña, the floor is yours.
Sa ating Pangulo, Mayor Rodrigo Roa Duterte, Senator Bongo, mga kapwa ko miyembro ng gabinete, mga kababayan, magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat. Mr. President, noong ipinagkatiwala po ninyo sa akin ang pamumuno sa Technical Education and Skills Development Authority o TESDA, I had committed to immediately work towards winning the hearts and minds of our people through training in order for them to have jobs and livelihood after. Layunin po ng TESDA na maiparamdam sa ating mga kababayan ang ating genuine and sincere concern sa kanilang kapakanan para maging katuwang po natin sila sa nation building at sustainable progress. Isa ang Technical Vocational Education and Training or TVET sa mga itinuturing na pangunahing puwersa para sa sustainable economic development kung saan itinaas nito ang antas ng buhay ng ating mga kababayan. Gaya ng ating mantra, we aim to transform their lives and eventually contribute as productive members of society. Ang paglagda po ninyo ng Executive Order No. 83 para sa National Technical Education and Skills Development Plan or NTESDP ang aming naging batayan sa lahat ng mga programa at serbisyo na aming ibinibigay sa ating mga kababayan. Ginamit po natin ang two-pronged strategy ng NTESDP sa paghahatid ng TVET sa ating mga kababayan. Una, ang TVET for Global Competitiveness and Workforce Readiness. At pangalawa, ang TVET for Social Equity and Poverty Reduction. Sa pagsisimula ng aking pamumuno sa TESDA noong October 30, 2018, inilunsad po natin ang ating guiding principle, TESDA abot lahat. Ito ang direksyon na ating sinimulan upang mas mapalawak at mapalakas ang ating mandato. Ito ang simbolo ng paglilingkod sa mas marami nating kababayan, lalo na sa malalayo at mahihirap na lugar, upang matulungan silang mapabuti ang kanilang buhay. Mas pinalawig po natin ang sakop ng TESDA. Under your time, Mr. President, ay nakapagdagdag tayo ng 60 provincial training centers sa buong bansa. Kabilang narito ang provincial training centers sa Pigkawayan, Cotabato Province, na personal ninyong ipinag-utos sa TESDA. Mayroon din pong nadagdag na 3 regional training centers. Ito po ay sa National Capital Region, Region 12 at Caraga. Dahil sa aming layunin na mas maging accessible ang TVET, ang bawat rehiyon at probinsya sa buong bansa ay mayroon ng mga training centers ngayon sa inyong pong administrasyon. Sa paglagda ninyo sa Executive Order No. 70, ang TESDA po ay natasang mamuno sa paghatid ng serbisyo sa ating mga kababayan sa mga malalayong lalawigan at geographically isolated and disadvantaged areas, or GIDAS. Bilang chair ng Poverty Reduction, Livelihood and Employment Cluster, or PRLEC, tinipon po natin ang iba't ibang ahensya ng pamahalaan, kabilang na ang mga local government units upang makapaghatid ng iba't ibang barangay development projects sa buong bansa. Simple lamang po ang pamamaraan ng TESDA. Una ay alamin ang pangangailangan ng komunidad, bigyan sila ng angkop na pagsasanay at kagamitan upang makapagsimula at turuan sila kung paano mapapakinabangan ang malawak nilang lupain upang magkaroon ng sustainable na hanap buhay. Teach a man how to fish, as they say, and he lives for a lifetime. Sa buong bansa, 215,375 na mga kababayan natin, katutubo, at 19,471 na former rebels ang nagkaroon ng pagkakataong magkapag-training sa TESDA sa ilalim ng PRLEC. Kabilang sa pangunahing programa matagumpay na nailunsad ay ang training program on photovoltaic or solar light installation system. Tinawag ito na Project TALA o TESDA Alay ay Liwanag at Asenso sa Sitio Blit, Barangay Ned, sa Lake Cebu, Municipality ng South Cotabato Province. Ayon sa isang tasaday elder, na may mahigit 70 taon nang nanaririhan sa lugar nila, ngayon lamang siya nakakita ng ilaw pagkatapos ng napakahabang panahon na pagtitiis sa dilim. Mangiyak-ngiyak niyang ibinahagi ito sa amin. Ito ay isang patutuo ng kapabayaan ng gobyerno sa matagal ng panahon. Only in your time, Mr. President, na sa wakas ay nakarating din ang serbisyo ng gobyerno sa kanila. Nais ng TESDA na suportahan ang food sufficiency and security ng bansa. Kaya mayroon din po tayong training na agri-crop at livestock production para maturuan ang mga komunidad na maging productive ang kanilang mga lupain. Dahil dito, nagkaroon sila ng kakayahan na makapag-produce ng kanilang sariling pagkain. Sa pamamagitan naman ng Community Enterprise Development Models, natuturuan din natin ang ating mga kababayan na magbenta ng kanilang mga sobrang produkto para sa karagdagang kita. Isang matagumpay nating proyekto, ang Alabel Food Hub o bagsakan ng mga gulay at prutas sa Barangay Alegria, Alabel Sarangani Province. In a span of 17 Thursdays, yan po ang market day nila, designated market day. Since its opening, nakapagtala na po ang ating mga kababayan na mahigit 800,000 pesos nakita mula sa food hub na itinayo ng munisipyo ng Alabel. Sa tulong ng TESDA at iba pang ahensya, nagkaroon ng training sa biomass feedstock production, power generator installation, at solar power irrigation system ang Atamatig Salug Tribe sa sitio Site 4, Barangay Mangayon, Compostela, Davao de Oro. Nagkaroon na po sila ng alternatibong pagkukunan ng enerhiya at kasabay nito ay nagkaroon din sila ng pangkabuhayan dahil sila rin ang nagtatanim ng mga materyales na ginagamit para sa biomass power system na ito. Hindi na rin po problema ang patubig. Malaki ang kaginhawaang dala ng textbook skills sa mga taga-sitio Site 4 na dating tinatawag na munisipyo ng mga NPA. Malaki na rin po ang naitulong ng mga batas na inyong nilagdaan sa pagpapalawig ng TVET. Una dito ay ang Republic Act 10968 or Philippine Qualification Framework or PQF Act. Dahil sa PQF, mas nailatag ang TVET sa kabuuan ng education system at it established the mechanism for lifelong learning at lalong pinaigting ang ladderized diploma program. Dahil dito, ang isang kababayan natin ay maaari munang mag-aral ng TVET at magtrabaho. Pagkatapos, pwede siyang bumalik sa pag-aaral kung gusto niyang tumaas pa ang antas ng kanyang education. Nakatulong din ito sa pagbubukas ng oportunidad sa ibang bansa dahil ang kanyang qualification ay recognized or at par sa standards ng bansang kanyang papasukan. Nagpapasalamat po kami sa inyo, Mr. President, sa pagpasa ng Republic Act 11230 or Tulong Trabaho Act. Sa ilalim po ng batas na ito, mas marami pong manggagawang Pilipino ang nabibigyan natin ng upskilling at reskilling, lalo ngayon sa post-pandemic recovery, upang matulungan natin sila na magkaroon ng bagong hanapbuhay at makabangon mula sa epekto ng pandemya. Ang Republic Act 10931 or Universal Access to Quality Tertiary Education Act ay nakatulong naman sa makapagpalawak ng enrollment sa TVET diploma programs. Ito ang magiging daan na sa pag-produce ng mga technologists and technicians na magpapatakbo ng ating mga piling industriya. Sa loob po ng mahigit 5 taon ninyong panunungkulan mula noong 2016, mahigit 10 milyon nating mga kababayan sa loob at labas ng bansa ang nakatanggap ng skills training mula sa TESDA. 9.8 million naman ang nakapagtapos at 6.6 million ang ating na-certify na skilled at competent sa kanilang mga napiling kasanayan. Ang employment rate ng ating mga graduates ay tumaas mula 71.87% noong 2017 to 84.15% noong 2019. Noong nakarang taon, sa kabila ng pandemya, ay nakapagtalata pa rin po tayo ng 70.51% employment rate. Ibig sabihin ito, 7 sa kada 10 graduates ang nagkaroon ng trabaho o hanap buhay pagkatapos ng kanilang training sa TESDA. 63.37% ay wage employed o nagkaroon ng trabaho sa mga kumpanya o opisina at 31.11% naman ang self-employed o nakapagtayo ng sariling negosyo, kasama na rito ang farming. Mr. President, we would like to emphasize that TVET is a wise investment dahil sa bawat tao na nakapag-aral o nakapagtatrabaho, nakakatulong tayo sa 5 panyang kapamilya upang maging productive members ng society. Bilang tugon naman po sa pangangailangan ng sektor ng construction ng mas marami pang manggagawa para sa Build, Build, Build program ng pamahalaan, 371,369 na individual ang nakapagtapos sa 63 construction-related courses ng ahensya mula 2019 hanggang ngayong June 2021. Sa kasalukuyan, ang agriculture ay isa sa priority sectors ng TESDA to ensure food sufficiency and security in the communities. Lalo po ngayon na patuloy pa rin ang pandemya. Kaya naman, ang paglagda ng ating Presidente sa Rice Tarification Law ay malaking tulong sa ating layunin. Sa pamamagitan ng Rice Competitiveness Enhancement Fund ngayong taon, ang TESDA ay nakapag-assist sa 21,075 farmers. Kabilang na rin ang kanilang mga dependents at iba pang farm workers. Under the Fund's Rice Extension Services Program, nakapag-establish po kami ng 301 farm schools na nagpapatupad ng iba't ibang programa para mapalakas ang produksyon ng bigas at madagdagan ang kita ng ating mga magsasaka. Sinabi nga ni Secretary Dar ng Department of Agriculture, malaking tulong ang mga Tibet agriculture-related trainings ng TESDA upang dumami ang ani at kita ng mga magsasaka. Sinisigurado rin ng TESDA na mabigyan na angkop at sapat na training ang ating mga textbook trainers. As of July 31 ngayong taon, nakapagtala po kami ng 21,214 certified trainers at sila din po ay proficient sa blended learning mode of textbook delivery na ngayon ay talagang essential sa ating new normal state. Sa katunayan, maging ang ating mga katutubo ay nabigyan na rin ng pagkakataong maging community TVET trainers. Ginagawa na po ito sa Davao, sa pamumuno ni Dato Benito Bailoanan ng Sitio Side 4, kung saan pinamumunuan niya ang pagsasanay ng kanyang mga katribo. Ang ating mga uniformed personnel din po mula sa Department of National Defense at Philippine National Police ay nabibigyan din ng trainers training para sila ay makapagkandak ng iba-ibang skills training sa lugar kung saan sila nakadestino. Ang training regulations ay napakahalagang parte ng ating textbook training programs. Ito ang basihan ng training upang masiguro ang kalidad ng ating mga graduates. Pinagting namin ang ating mga pagkipag-ugnayan sa iba't ibang ahensya ng gobyerno, private companies, corporate foundations, and industry associations. Kaugnay nito, isinasagawa din natin ngayon ang area-based and demand-driven TVET upang mas angkop at masiguro na ang mga programa ng TESDA ay tumutugon sa tunay na pangangailangan ng ating employers and industry partners at masolusyonan na ang job skills mismatch. Bilang pagtugon sa ating guiding principle na TESDA abot lahat, nagsasagawa rin po ang TESDA ng iba't ibang assistance programs sa mga kababayan nating naging biktima ng mga sakuna, trahedya o mga kalamidad. Nagsasagawa po tayo ng training co-production sa mga komunidad na nasunugan upang makatulong na maibalik ang kanilang mga nasirang tahanan. Binibigyan din natin sila ng training sa ibang skill areas nang sa gayon ay mabilis silang makabangon mula sa trahedya. Nagsagawa din tayo ng relief operations sa assistance program sa mga nasalanta ng mga nakaraang bagyo, sa mga naging biktima ng pagsabog ng Bulkang Taal at lindol sa Cotabato. Ang mga beneficiaries sa mga skills training na ito ay nakakatanggap din ng training allowance na 160 pesos kada araw na nakakatulong din sa kanilang pang-araw-araw na gastusin. TESDA's operational plan in response to the COVID-19 pandemic calls for the implementation of flexible learning in the delivery of TVET. Inasahan po natin na ang face-to-face classes ay patuloy pa rin apektado sa iba't ibang parte ng bansa. Kaya naman ang TESDA ay nag-transition na rin sa flexible learning delivery arrangements na kombinasyon ng blended, distance, online at face-to-face learning na pinapatubad depende sa community quarantine condition sa isang lugar. Nang magsimula ang pandemic sa ating bansa, mas pinaigting at mas pinalawig po natin ang ating serbisyo sa ating mga kababayan. Una po rito ay ang pag-expand ng ating TESDA online program mula sa 60 online courses. Mayroon na ngayong 103 online courses na libre para sa lahat. Mahigit 1.7 milyong kababayan natin ang nag-register sa TESDA online program simula nung community quarantine noong March 2020 hanggang July 2021. Ang TESDA online program ang naging katuwang natin upang ang ating mga kababayan ay maging produktibo noong kasagsagan ng community quarantine. Nagsagawa din po tayo ng mass production ng mga face mask at iba pang personal protective equipment at namigay tayo ng mga farm products at food packs sa ating mga frontliners at mga kababayan nating naapektuhan ng community quarantine restrictions. Mr. President, we believe that the true measure of the effectiveness of training is the transformation of the lives of textbook graduates. Narito ang iba't ibang kwento ng pagbabago at pag-asa ng ating mga textbook graduates mula Luzon, Visayas at Mindanao. Si Heron Tanglao, Tubong Tanawan, Batangas, ang una nating tampok. Sa gitna ng pandemya, kumuha siya ng kursong barista, NC2. Bukod dito, siya rin ay nagtapos ng Tourism Promotion Services sa TESDA. Bitbit ang kanyang determinasyon, tiyaga at barista skills. Ginamit niya ang kanyang quarantine bike at nilagyan ng sariling cart para magsilbing lagayan ng kanyang mga gamit sa paggawa ng kanyang produkto. Pagkatapos nito ay naging tuloy-tuloy na ang pagsikat ng kanyang coffee cart sa Batangas. Isa din sa mga naging successful na textbook graduate natin ay si Juminel Cucharo, 23 years old, Tubong Tacloban, Leyte. Isa ang pamilya ni Juminel sa mga nasalanta ng bagyong Yolanda. Ito ang nagtulak sa kanya upang isipin ang kanyang hinaharap at maging matagumpay. Kung kaya siya ay nag-enroll sa TESDA ng Automotive Servicing NC1 hanggang sa NC4. Bunga ng kanyang tiyaga at galing, isa siya sa mga pinadalang delegado ng Pilipinas sa ASEAN Skills Competition noong 2018 at World Skills Competition sa Kazan, Russia noong 2019 at nakapag-uwi siya ng Medallion of Excellence sa parehong skills competition at isa rin siya sa Best of Nation Awardees nitong nakaraang World Skills Competition. At ang pride ng Davao, si Ryan Cordova, kasalukuyang Lead Automation Control and Instrumentation Engineer sa Singapore. Graduate si Ryan ng Mechatronics Servicing NC3 at Industrial Automation sa Regional Training Center, Korean Philippines, Davao. Hindi naging hadlang ang kahirapan upang buuin ni Ryan ang matayog na hinaharap na gusto niya para sa kanyang sarili at pamilya. Suportado pa siya ng tatay niyang TESDA graduate din. Pinapatunayan ito na kapag pinagsama ang sipag, diskarte at textbook, siguradong aasenso. Ang mga ito ay patunay kung paano naging kaagapay ng ating mga kababayan ang TESDA sa kanilang muling pagbangon mula sa pandemya. Sa inyong State of the Nation Address noong 2020, inyo pong inatasan ang TESDA na tulungan ang mga OFWs na apektado ng pandemya. Bilang tugon, inulunsad namin ang TESDA abot lahat ang OFWs. Gamit ang TESDA mobile app, libu-libong repatriated OFWs ang nakapag-register at nakapag-avail ng free skills training at free assessment at certification sa ilalim ng programang ito. Bukod po sa ating mga malasakit helpdesk na matatagpuan sa ating mga paliparan, nagtayo din po tayo ng mga OFW desk at malasakit helpdesk sa ating mga regional at provincial offices upang ma-prioritize ang mga pangangailangan ng ating OFWs. Lahat ng ito ay resulta ng ating pakikipag-ugnayan sa ating mga overseas Filipino workers. Sa kabila ng pandemya, patuloy po tayong nagbibigay ng pagsasanay sa mga displaced workers upang sila ay mabigyan ng skills at makahanap ng trabaho o magsimula ng kanilang sariling negosyo. Sa ilalim naman po ng National Employment Recovery Task Force or NERS, tuloy-tuloy ang aming pagsiservisyo upang makapagbigay ng tamang skills training sa ating mga kababayan, alinsunod na rin sa inyong direktiba nitong nakaraang SONA. Nagtutulong-tulong po ang DTI, DOLE at TESDA, kasama ang iba pang members ng NERS Task Force upang masiguro na ang ating mga manggagawa ay magiging matatag habang tayo ay nasa gitna ng pandemya at hanggang sa maibangon natin muli ang ekonomiya ng bansa. Sa inyong huling State of the Nation address, nabanggit po ninyo ang kailangan gawin ng TESDA, prioritize the upskilling and reskilling of the Philippine workforce and increase their employability. Gusto po namin ipaabot ang pasasalamat sa pag-approve ninyo, aming mahal na Pangulo, ng 4.95 billion pesos funds para sa modernization ng mga TESDA technology institutions, pasilidad, at state-of-the-art learning system. Ito ay upang tayo ay maging handa sa mga challenges ng Fourth Industrial Revolution. Kasabay po ng pag-modernize ng pasilidad, nagdagdag din tayo sa ating manpower complement. Kasama na sa mga inaprubahan ay ang 996 plantilla positions na para sa iba't ibang operating units at training centers ng TESDA. Dagdag dito ay nire-review po natin ang ating mga training regulations and standards, katuwang ang iba't ibang industriya upang masiguro na naayon sa pangangailangan ng mga employers ang mga training programs. Sa kasalukuyan po, mayroon na tayong 3 nasimulan na TESDA Innovation Centers sa Cebu, Region 7, sa Northern Samars, Region 8, at Zamboanga, Sibugay, para sa Region 9. May 5 karagdagang innovation centers ngayong 2021 na itatayo sa Taguig City, dito sa National Capital Region, Pangasinan sa Region 1, Isabela sa Region 2, Bataan sa Region 3, at Davao City sa Region 11. Mahal na Pangulo, TESDA is fully aware of its role in this nation's recovery from the present crisis. Nakahanda po ang aming tanggapan, lalong-lalo na sa pagsisiguro na ang ating human resources ay nakakasabay sa mga challenges ng new normal at future work environments. Sa patuloy ninyong pagtitiwala at pagsusuporta sa TESDA, makakamtan natin ang inyong hangarin na magkaroon ng komportabling buhay ang bawat Pilipino. Maraming salamat po at muli, gandang gabi sa inyong lahat.
Maraming salamat sa Secretary Lapeña. Alam mo, I've been mayor. I was the mayor of Davao City for 23 years. Excluding the 4 years I was a congressman. And excluding also the 4-year, and the another 4 years as vice mayor to my daughter. Along these years, yung mayor ko lang 23 years, meron lang akong gustong i-share sa ating mga kababayan. May sabihin ako dito, may basahin ako. I want to make this thing very clear. This is not an accusation against COA. It's neither a criticism against COA. It is just sharing with COA the heartaches of the so many people na dumaan dyan sa mga audit ninyo. I know that you have to do it. Kailangan gawin ninyo. Utos ng batas. Wala akong, at saka hindi naman personal yan. Hindi tayo magkakilala. Pero yung mga repercussions lang na gusto man ninyo o hindi, gusto ko rin o hindi, ay mangyari pagka ganitong Philippine, yung environment ng ating bansa, politika, pati yung mga tao na, well, there is a freedom of to criticize whatever. What kailangan malaman ng Pilipino na ano talaga ang totoo. Ngayon, yung hindi maniwala, wala na akong magawa sa inyo. But you can check this with government records. It's open. Sabihin mo lang kung anong gusto ninyo at I will give the order to open whatever there is. There is that ating transparency law, transparency executive order. Wala pa ng batas. Wala pa yung batas. Meron ako executive order, pero Congress has yet to act on itong mga batas na making it transparent. Kailangan mo yung, well, everything that the public may want to know. Again, I repeat, this is not personal. Pagka mayor ko, in the 23 years, there have been so many audit, araw-araw, buwan-buwan yan. But yung may mga transaction sa gobyerno na ganon, pinapakialaman ng kuha yan. Not because gusto nila, pero trabaho nila, alam ko. But as early as about when I was on the first term, meron kaming binili. Alam mo, dito yung problema ng Pilipinas eh. I wanted to buy computers for my city government. For their use. Tapos noon, merong, I don't know why they have to do it. The less regulation, the less corruption. More regulation, more corruption. We were required to go to the National Computer Center to get the approval for a government local unit to buy. Kaya gusto ko sa panahon ko, alisin ko talaga yan. Bahala na ibalik na kung sinong susunod. I want less regulation. Yung pakialam ng mga regulators, dapat, hindi naman i-control. But this is what happened. They filed a case against me doon sa computers. Kasi hindi ako sumunod doon sa National Computer Center. Kasi ang gusto nila, kanilang brand, mahal. Pero isang computer corporation nag-offer, mas mura. Halos about, hindi naman one half. Pero mababa. So sabi ko, as a lawyer, hindi ako susunod. Why should I buy an expensive one when I buy 2 for 1 dito? Sabi ko sa kanila, hindi ako susunod. Eh, yung pagka-abogado ko, sabi ko, basta alam ninyo. As long as you know, at saka nandyan yung mga computer. Alam mo, when I tried to, yung transaction, I wanted yung delivery kaagad. Alam mo, gano'n ako sakit ko. Pinaila nila ako ng kaso. Sabi ko, sabi nila na illegal gano'n. Sabi ko, ibahin ko. I will come up with another contract. Madali lang no, wala namang final. Anak, yung audit na, alam mo, ang audit na yon umabot ng Supreme Court. I was exonerated on all counts. Pero ang nagastos ko, butit na lang yung mga abogado, mga kilala ko, Pero ang gastos ko, easily. Yung isang trabahanteng gobyerno na mademanda doon, gastos yan. Pagka mga treasurer, auditor, governor, milyon yan. Hindi ka magbigay. Abogado lang, tapos yung pabalik doon. You must be present during it. Pero ito hindi umabot sa talagang full hearing. I went up by certiorari. Sabi ko, on all fours. Tapos next, about medicines again. Ako mismo, bakit ka magbili ng mahal ito? Pareho lang naman ito. Generic and branded. It has the same effect on the body. Ba't nadaan ba ito ng gobyerno yung FDA kung generic? Gusto na. Pinala nila ako ng kaso. Umabot ng Court of Appeals. Exonerated ako. Then the third, alam mo, mayor ako. Alam ng taga Davao lahat, pati yan si Congressman Nograles, lahat ng tao sa Davao, every Christmas, nagpapakain ako by sectors. Christmas party. Gratis sa gobyerno. Papakain ako ng police and military. Alam, andyan si General Lapeña yun. Then, pabaan ako sa disabled. May pakain ako isang gabi for commercial sex workers. Biniblow out ko yan sila lahat. About mga 4,000. Tapos bigyan ko ng 1,000. Pera ng gobyerno. Basta audited lang. Basta alam saan lang pumunta ng pera. Ngayon, pagdating dito sa teachers, maraming teachers. Mas marami pa sa sundalo yan. Kaya nagpa-party ako sa kanila for 3 nights separate kasi hindi ma-accommodate ng isang not big enough. Alam mo, dinamanda ako ng kalaban ko sa politika, still around. Pinaila na naman ako ng kaso. Umabot na naman kami sa punta ako ng Supreme Court. And to think that mayor ako, at least kung makakaso ako, yung aeroplano, mag-official ka, trip ka lang, alam mo, pag nademanda ka, and it is part of your duty, siyempre pupunta, patatawagin ka ng sandigan, pupunta ka talaga doon. Ngayon yung bakit, ito bang krimen na ito, akin ito sa gobyerno. I'm just doing what the law allows me to do. Yan ang aking personal experience. Masakit yan kasi, alam mo, 8 out of 10, paglakad ka ngayon dyan sa daan, ay, hamunin ko kayo. Yung bang report ninyo na nabasa ninyo sa newspaper, sa radyo, anong tingin ninyo doon? Wala, korupsyon. Yung mga commentators, political commentators dyan sa radyo, mga kurako. Alam mo, ang totoo niyan, ang DOH walang pera. Ang pera, DBM. Kung may programa sila, ang magbayad, rin nila ito yung programa. Hindi humahawak si Secretary Duque ni piso. Pero the perception of the public is that when you are flagged as an F-L-O-G, G-I-N-G. It's not flagging, it's flogging. Pagtanong kayo dyan, sa newspaper, headline, budget, ganon. Yan ang mahirap dyan. Alam ng kuwa yan. Ngayon sabihin nila, batas ito, paano? Hindi, i-question and answer mo. Huwag kayong mag-draw ng conclusion without the side of, sabihin niyo, ito yung tanong ninyo, ito yung sagot. Para malaman ng tao. That give him a chance also to answer. Sufficient time. At saka itong ginagawa ngayon ni Secretary Duque, Anew, Secretary Galvez, Secretary si Defense, ongoing ito, Adre. So you do not conduct unnecessarily yung mga audit na ongoing pa. We are fighting a pandemic. Do you know what is pandemic is? It's the tallest in the ladder sa mga sakit. Ang epidemic is local, pandemic is worldwide. Lahat nagsasuffer. They are fighting a war against an enemy na hindi natin nakikita. Give them an enough elbow room to move. At saka yung sabi ninyong documentation, alam ninyo, pandemic, skeletal force lahat. Inyong opisina, lahat kayo sa gobyerno, alam ninyo yan. Ang COA, alam ninyo yan. Hindi lahat ng empleyado ninyo nagre-report. So, ang documentation, hindi mo makaagad-agad kasi i-validate mo pa, bili ito, at magkuha ka pa ng validation. Yan ang tapos papasok ka in the middle of the battle. Patapusin mo man at least at the end of the year bago kayo magpumasok. Suggestion ko lang yan. Huwag kang pumasok ngayon kasi ongoing ang barilan between the virus and the government's vaccine. There's a war there. Huwag ka basta bigla ka lang pumasok, mag-conduct ka ng i-timing ninyo. At you have to make over yung sa report ninyo na gano'n. It has to be, sa una, this is not an accusation. There is no money involved here. Wala nga, ang money, ang Congress is complaining na hindi ginamit. Hindi nga basta-basta ma-implement ang program, walang tao. Walang opisina dito that employs thousands of personnel who will go out to implement a program of government. Tapos, if you try to validate, sino ngayon? Galing sa opisina, skeletal force lang. Yan ang mahirap. An experience ko sa inyo is 3 beses. 3 beses ko kayo na-rebuke. Tapos magkano ang gastos ko? And the humiliation. You go there, appear before the court, and you read the information. Tapos you're guilty or not guilty. Bayaran mo abogado mo, at least yung gastos niya. Alam mo kung magkano ibayad mo sa bayaran mo lang ng 1,000. Ang iniisip ko lang, yung mga empleyado na kagaya ng, maraming beses ito, mayroon dito nagsuicide. Alam mo yung mga treasurer, pati auditor, magpagpirma lang yan sila. Kung wala naman sila nakita na masama may contract. Pagdating sa demandahan, kasali sila. Kaya ako, kasi ako mayor, nakita ko, hindi taga Davao City. Pero kilala ko kasi politiko tatay ko. So sabi ko, ba't taga nandito? Yung barong pa niya na butas-butas. Sabi niya, alam mo, mayor, ganito. Kakaawa, utang pa pamasahin. You do not appear when the case is called. The court will order your arrest. Kailangan nandiyan ka. Yan ang mahirap dyan. Yun ang masakit. Yun ang hindi nakikita ng publiko. Pati yung those unnecessarily making a hay, out of. Basta na lang maka-criticize, those binabayaran naman. Lalo na yung mga virulent na wala tao dito magmura ng kapwa niya tao. Pera yan. Baski sinong pinaka-torpe dito na Pilipino, he would not unnecessarily go out. Even if he's a commentator, reporter. Tapos magsulat ng bayad yan. Walang tao na magmura na one who will paint another human being, maybe he is white. All you have to do, I said, to make it appear na ang kalaban mo, sirain mo, paint him black. He is white, paint him black. Pinturahan mo lang ng itim. Ganon yan. Yan ang experience ko sa almost 40 years ako sa politics, pang-gobyerno. As a fiscal, vice mayor, then president. Ganon ito ngayon, nangyayari. Kaya mabuti na sabi nyo, why are you defending? I am not defending DOH. Trabaho nila yan. And we are governed by the rules. Hindi ako, I'm not defending because they are not being accused of anything. I'm just sharing my opinion. Kasi kagad, Duterte is defending DOH from anomalies. Putang ina, anong anomalies yan? Sabi ko nga, hindi man sila nagbabayad. Ang DBM man. Yan ang problema. Yan ang masakit sa kapwa ko taga-gobyerno. All government officials. Ang Congress hindi masyado. Hindi pakialaman lang ang Congress ang kuha. I am sure. Takot kayo sa Congress. Kasi pagdating ng budget, bigyan ka lang ng piso, tapos ka na. Pero dito kayo, bugbugin talaga ninyo ng well, I said, it is not, alam ko, walang mali siya. You are just doing your duty. But in making the report, kindly reconfigure everything. And sabihin sa una, at the first instance, pag ma-interview ka, sabihin mo na kagad, there is no corruption here because there is no money involved. Ang pera nga hindi na utilize. Gusto man ni Duque, gastusin niya lahat isang araw. Wala siyang programa na sufficient tao, 1,000 doktor, 10,000 nurses. Wala siya niyan. So anong gawin niya? Di kung ano lang ang kaya ng manpower ng opisina niya. Just like the military. Kung papasukin mo sa isang lugar, alam mo na meron niyang 50 o 100 MPA, papasukin mo lang ng isang, alam mo, itong NPA, they can choose the time and place of where to attack. Itong military, hindi na alam. You have to rely on intelligence. And ganun yan sa, same sa trabaho. Pagsabi, about unspent, ba't hindi nyo, ito si Duque, naiwan. Bakit niya ginastos? Maraming programa. Alam ko, presidente ako. Ngayon, can he implement it? He can. But at what cost? Inadequate and unsatisfactory performance. Kasi wala ng tao. Bigyan mo si Duque ng 1,000 doktor, wala na tayong problema dyan. Wala akong ano sa kuha. Pero sabi ko, maglakad ka. I repeat, just to, analogy ba? Maglakad ka, maski hindi ng tao, kaibigan mong magkape kayo. Padre, anong masasabi mo sa... Sabi ka nga, alam mo, basta gobyerno, ganoon talaga eh. Hindi mo mawala yung korupsyon. Putang ina. Kaawa naman yung mama. Gusto nila, do you want me to fire Duque, Secretary? Gusto mo paalisin ko? Give me a reason bakit ko paalisin. Ikinuha ko yung tao nakiusap eh. Hindi naman niya nag-apply. Nakiusap na, hindi naman nakiusap na kunin mo ako. Ako ang kumuha. So kung ano pagkakamali niya, sa akin yan. Pero nakita ko, you want to ask him, for what? Ano ba ang nagawa niya na kasamaan? May 2 asawa siya. Wala tayong pakialam yan. Dagdagan mo pang isa, sekretary, para 3. Ang alam dito is just corruption and dereliction of duty. Yan. Failure to perform a task required by law. So I have to make some suggestions, but I'll go straight to what I intend to communicate to our people about the recent issues of COA's audit reports on DOH and other agencies under the Executive Department, as well as my earlier reactions. I know it has drawn so many criticism, and tonight I would like to set the record straight once and for all. I am not prepared to. I would be doing a great injustice. Alam mo bakit? Ako ang kumuha, ang is performing. Pag pinaalis ko yan si Duque, lifetime sabihin yan. Alam mo, pinaalis yan dahil may corruption sa ano. Just imagine the injustice that you inflict on your another fellow human being. Hindi ako ganon. Kung mag-perform ka, ngayon, kung mag-knockout ka dyan, pwede pa kitang ipapatay para tapos ang problema ko. Pagkatapos niyan, pakulong ako. Okay lang man yan. Matagal naman rin akong sanay dito sa labas, baka sa loob, ublo ang tawag dyan. Mga priso, when they say, munting lupa, pasok ka sa loob or magsabi, ublo. Baliktarin nila, ublo. You can spend your time. Me, 76. Gusto ninyo magpreso ng itito? Okay. Kayo maghugas ng irinula ko. But that time, an audit report by COA is made on an agency's financial statements with observations and recommendations. You know what I'm saying? If you will carefully read through their audit, you will see that after every observation, it is followed by a recommendation that provides for compliance and allows the audited agency to rectify, deficiencies. This means that the agencies concerned are given not only time but also the opportunity to comply. Ganang gawin nyo kung anong kupag-kukulang. Even COA has clarified that an official statement dated August 16, which said that the report itself does not mention any findings by the auditors of funds lost to corruption. Hindi mo alam ito ng tao. Alam natin kami sa gobyerno, ako, kasi cabinet member eh. Alam ng tao yan na mayroon ito. Wala yan, hindi yan nilalagay. You know what? Meron akong gustong sabihin, nakakalimutan ko. Pero, something like, kakaawa ang lahat naman nagpa-flag na flag. So, at the outset na, sabihin na ninyo kaagad, ano kung may tanong kayo, I know that it is not a sub rosa thing, but you are not also allowed to make your comments in public. But somehow you can maybe just make the public na lang ninyo, mas mabuti pa. Then underlining yung the report itself does not mention any findings by the authors of funds of loss to corruption. Baski yan na lang ang unang sentence ninyo. Pero ngayon, yung magnanakaw talaga totoo, upakan ninyo eh. Go ahead. Go for his neck. He deserves it. Pero ito naman ganito na klase na wala talaga. Alam mo, paglabas nito, kaya nga, if I will dismiss or oust or whatever you want, whatever adjective that you want to, anong gawin ko ito? Sabi nila, against all, okay. Ako, baski buong Pilipinas, plus kayo, ako minus. Mag-isa ako. I can go down, but with my values and principles intact. Prinsipyo yan eh. Hindi yan, wala si Duque, he's not even a campaigner. He was not even there during the elections, sama-sama. But, you know, fairness is kailangan. At ako yung tao na hindi. Ngayon, kung talaga, sabi ko nga sa military pati police, ito ang order ko, go for the criminals. Destroy their apparatus. Then I go public. You know guys, sa itong droga, you will destroy my country. You will render my country inutil. If you do that, I will kill you. If you destroy the young, ang mga anak namin, inasahan namin. Kasi puro tayo mahirap dito. Walang, ang totoo lang, ang milyonaryo nakaupo dito, si Duque. He's the only millionaire dito na alam ko. Wala na iba. Yan ang so, I'm sorry but I said, baski mag-isa na lang ako, I will stand for Duque. Even if it will bring me down. Sabi na pagkatapos na ito, hindi na popular si Duterte yung mga rating niya magdoon. Look, tapos na ako. The rating does not really matter to me. Ang gusto ko lang magtrabaho ng matino, and whatever judgment you have for me, I don't give a shit. Basta ako, I will stand by my values. Hindi ako mag-ano ng tao na walang, for all times na yan, si Dugi, dating ano yan, no? Pinaalis sa gobyerno dahil ng anomalya. Kung gawain ko sa inyo yan, or if it is done to you by in other times and other places, maligayahan kayo. Yung mga critics, gano'n. What have you really gained from destroying the reputation of a person? Alam mo, ang reputasyon, mahalaga yan. But at the end of the day, ako, sabi ko, may mga values, may mga prinsipyo sa buhay na I hold strongly in my heart. Baski na akong isa na lang at lahat na gusto na kalaban ninyo si Dugoy, tatayo ako para sa kanya. Sabihin ninyo, ang rating ko magbaba. Di ibaba ninyo ngayon. Wala akong problema. I can go as 10. What do I really care? Basta magtrabaho lang ako ng matino. At the end of the day, when I face my family of dinner, tapos kadasal ako, ang dasal ko, maiksi lang. Please guide me, Lord, and protect my country. Give us the things that we need. Hindi na ako nagdadasal ng sarili ko. Presidente na binigay nga sa akin ng Diyos. Sabihin ng Diyos, tangina mo, karami mong dadal, binigay ko na sa inyo. Marami ka pang ungol dyan. I say that help me in my quest for not perfection, in my quest sa pagsisilbi. Ngayon ang bakuna. Sige ng bakuna, walang bakuna. Walang supply hanggang ngayon. Mabutit na lang, mabinigyan tayo ng, was it 1 million? I'd like to thank China. Binigyan na naman tayo ng 1 million doses. Kita mo? Na ngayon itong mga gagong, itong Quisha, si Albert Trillanes, kung sinabi tama sila tapos sumunod ako sa kanila, ang unang bakuna wala tayo. Sinong nagbigay? China. Talagang pagputok ng pandemya, wala tayo zero, alam ko. Kaya ulitin ko itong story na to. Tinawagan ko si President Xi Jinping. Sinabi ko, Mr. President, my country is poor. We have not had the technology or the expertise to make our own vaccines. We cannot make it on time. Can you help me? Please remember my country. Sabi ni Xi Jinping, do not worry, we will help you. Hanggang ngayon, baski isang buteng coke, walang hiningi ang China. Yung geopolitics, yung away niya sa Amerika, kanila yan eh. What have we to gamble dito? Makipag-away ka? Target tayo kasi nandito sila. Paalisin mga Amerikano, di wala tayong problema. Walang bomba dadating dito. Pag nandyan sila, pagka nagkaputukan ito, Sinong una matutunaw? Sundalo nila? Lahat naka full protective gear. Tayo, Pilipino. Tayo ang maulan. Hindi ko inaano ang Amerika. It's a geopolitics yan eh. Politika ng mundo. Gusto dito sila kasi dito sila, dito ako. Pagpunta mo dito sa isang bayan, dito ako. Ganyan sila pa. Hindi naman, tagal naman, ganun ang ginagawa nila. It is the constitutional mandate of COA with all government agencies, likewise to uphold transparency, accountability, and integrity at all times. Wala akong issue dyan. As a matter of fact, I encourage. Ang sinasabi ko lang, ito si, yung Heidi Mendoza. Nandiyan naman siya noon nang demanda ako. Many times over. Ngayon, sabihin ninyo na huwag naman ninyong siraan yung nademanda dahil sa report ninyo. No one would like to appear an hero here. You want to be a hero at the expense of another soul. Buti na lang kung tama kayo. Ngayon, tama ba ninyo? Sinabi ko na nga eh. Abogado ako. Hindi naniwala ang kuwa. So, they made the report. Eventually, naging issue, ginamit sa akin, umabot ng Supreme Court. Teachers meal. Lahat dito sa Davao, alam, tanungin mo ba sino? Nagpa-party ako sa lahat ng tao. Sa mga tribo, indigenous people, lahat. May panon, pare, pati noon, pare, pati mga evangelists, lahat. May party yan gabi-gabi. Magkano? Milyon. Milyon na naubos niyan. Pagkain lang. Kaya yung iba naman, yung mga disabled, binibigyan ko ng 1,000 kasi yun mga commercial sex workers. Kasi hindi makapaghanap buhay. Eh, nagpaparte. So, tinawag mo, halika rito. Mga street walkers. Ika nga. Pardon the discussion. Kaya pag-uwi nila, mga singer, yung mga comedian sa Manila, yan. Hindi naman kami but pumunta kami ng Mindanao because pag nag-migrate ka, ibig sabihin naghanap ka ng greener pasture. So alam ko ang buhay. Hindi kayo maniwala, sabi ko sa inyo. Nadimulis pa kami noon. Santa Ana, itong Santa Ana ngayon was just a wetland, pagat-patan sa Bisaya. Pero so over time, develop, tinatambakan yun. That is what Davao is today. We came here mga 1949. Wala kaming nothing at all. Kaya alam ko nung na mayor ako, I can mag-usap. Alam ko kung rip-off yan, paghingi ng tulong na alam ko yung iba. Mahirap naman. Sakit-sakit. Kailangan ko, kano kailangan mo? Kailangan mo 500. Bigyan ko 200. Iyon na yan. Reserve your bula. Huwag mo na akong bula na magbalik ka dito, bigyan kita. Pero hindi na yan. Kaya nang magnakaw-nakaw. Ako, fiscal ako noon. Ano mo yung magnanakaw, damit, pati pagkain. Pagdating sa opisina, sabihin ko na, lalo na ko na, anong negosyo mo? Mayaman ka. Kalimutan mo na yan. Total kapagkain yan eh. Damit. Eh, kung ayaw, sige, bayaran ko, ako magbayad. Magkano yan? Sabihin mo 100, o ito, 50. Okay na, i-dismiss ko yung kaso. Dinidismiss ko talaga. Pag kayong mga lalo na mahirap, magnakaw ako, nanakawan ako ng damit. Nakita ko pa suot-suot ng gago. Merong ano noon, tatay ko punta ng Manila, there was a popular department store, no? Soriente Santos. Meron Soriente Santos department store. Kaya hindi sa mahal, kung hindi doon binili. Kaya ninakaw ng buang, alam ko na kaagad akin yon. Tinignan ko na lang. Nagsasayang ng sapatos din sa... Pakialaman mo pa yun. Government should not be affected or swayed by the noise of the few. Conundrum. We should perform our sworn duties to the people, including transparency and accountability. If you think that these events surrounding the audit reports on various agencies under the executive department will distract us from our mission to save our people, then you are wrong. I am committed to leading our nation out of this pandemic with the help of frontline institutions so that we can be victorious and ready for a bigger future. Unahan na lang kita. May pera man, sabi nga ng pera yung obligated na, yung nakataka na. Sabihin ko kung merong ibabayaran lahat, yung nagrereklamo yung frontliners about their allowances, about whatever, pati itong mga pasensya na matanda na yung presidente niyo. Siya nakuha sana kayo ng bata. Itong volunteers na magbakuna. Sabi ko kay, I am now ordering, this is an order, Secretary Duque. Bayaran mo. Use whatever money there is. Bayaran mo yung hinihingi ng mga nurses. Both in government and those outside of government na volunteers. Ito mga bayaran mo. Kung wala kang pera, gastusin mo lahat yung dyan. I'm ordering you to use every money there. May ako left out sa notes ko. Several personalities have reacted to my statement about protecting Duque and the idiots. To all of them, I have to say, you are just adding more noise to the already difficult situation. I want our agencies to rather focus on our response against the pandemic. Government should not be affected by... Lahat kayong nasa gobyerno, huwag kayong makinig. Alam mo, sa totoo lang, at the start of the pandemic, if you know what the word is, it's a worldwide contamination. Ang order ko sa DOH, sabi ko, pagbili kayo ng kung bilihin ninyo, dispense with the bidding. Yan nga ang order ko noon eh. Ay, hindi nga nila sinunod, nag-bidding nga eh. Ang order ko talaga, because ay pandemic eh. Ang hawaan, mabilis na. It was spreading like a wildfire. So my order to Duque is still there. Sabi ko, kung anong bilhin mo, balihin mo na, wag mo na i-bidding, diretso na. Sabihin mo, upon my order. Pero hindi niya sinunod, nag-bidding. Hindi ko alam, nag-bidding pala talaga sila. Ang order ko kasi do you know what the word pandemic is? And do you know how many people are now are sick or dying. Tayo nga hindi na makaalis nitong ano eh. This is the first time sa ating namatay pa ang ano generation na ang hold upper pati tayo magkapareho na ka-level. Pare ka-level na tayo. This will not, you know, I'd like to tell just this pandemic will not disappear overnight. It will be with us for a long time. Nandyan na yan sa hangin eh. So, kung mahawaan ka, patay ka na. So, how long? This is going to be a long journey. So, wala na yung mga happy-happy natin sa gabi, makalabas tayo ng pamilya natin. Saan ka? Nakamas ka. Talagang you have to, somebody wrote something, parang I will borrow the phrase. You just have to learn to live with it. Ngayon pa lang matuto ka na ganito na talaga ang buhay natin. Otherwise, if you are reckless, then so Secretary Duque, ipagbili mo yung departamento mo, marami ang bili niyan. You can sell the department of the DOH para yung pera, bayaran mo lahat para wala ng ano. I'm ordering you, that's an order. Bayaran mo lahat yung ano nila, yung I cannot express it in Tagalog. Pang direklamo nila. Kasi totoo naman eh. So, I know that bayaran mo, it is upon your request to the DBM. Hindi ikaw ang magkuha dyan sa bulsa mo para ibayad mo, correct? So,
yes, sir.
I would like now, itong naghawak ng pera or authority for us to spend, DBM, I'm giving you 10 days. Wala kayong personnel, borrow from other agencies or from saan. Pagkuha kayo ng mga empleyado, maghiramanin yung tagakuha para bigay mo yung pera kay Secretary Duque tapos bayaran niya. Walang hinahawakan niya si Secretary Duque na pera. Sige, ikaw na sir.
Magandang gabi po, Mr. President at mga kasama ko po sa kabinete, Senator Bongo at higit po sa lahat ang ating mga kababayan. Papakiusap ko lang po sa Secretariat kung pwedeng ilabas lang po yung updates on health workers benefits under Republic Act number 11494 or the Bayanihan to Recover as One Act. Can we have the slide please for my presentation? President, yung RA 11494 or the Bayanihan to Recover as One Act, ito po ay ang mga benepisyo na ibinibigay po ng ating gobyerno sa mga healthcare workers. At dito po sa first column, ang mga iba't ibang klaseng mga benepisyo. Yung actual active hazard duty pay or AHDP, para po sa mga public healthcare workers. Yun naman pong COVID-19 Special Risk Allowance or SRA, para naman po ito sa public and private healthcare workers. Yung pangatlo pong benefit item, accommodation, transportation, meals, para din po sa public and private healthcare workers. Meron pa pong kasama, batay po sa inyong kautusan, na magbigay ng life insurance para din naman po sa public and private healthcare workers. At ang COVID-19 sickness and death compensation na kung saan ang mga healthcare workers natin na meron po mild or moderate, binibigyan po natin ng 15,000 piso at doon naman sa nagkaroon ng severe or critical, ay binibigyan po ng 100,000 pesos. Samantalang yun naman pong may pumanaw, yung pamilya po ang makakatanggap ng 1,000,000 piso. So, balik ko lang po doon sa actual hazard duty pay. Ang particulars po nito ay ang binabayad 3,000 month covering the period of September 15 to December 19, 2020. Samantalang yung pong SRA, ang formula po rito, ang bayad nila 5,000 per month at ang period covered September 15 to December 19, 2020. Ngunit ito po ay na-extend natin until June 30, 2021. Yun naman pong mga related issuances are in support of the implementation of this Republic Act number 11494. Meron po tayong mga issuances, OP, Administrative Order, para sa actual hazard duty pay, ang DBM-DOH Joint Circular. Ang ganoon din po, makikita ninyo, hindi ko na po iisa-isahin, ang ibig sabihin lang po nito, malinaw po ang atin pong mga panuntunan para po maibigay ang kanila pong mga benefits. Next slide. For the provision of the actual hazard duty pay, ito pong frontline healthcare workers shall refer to medical, allied medical, and other personnel in the public sector who are involved in the national healthcare response to mitigate the transmission of COVID-19 and prevent further loss of lives, as in AO number 35. Doon naman po sa provision ng SRA, public and private healthcare workers shall refer to medical, allied medical, and other personnel who directly provide treatment and support care to COVID-19 patients as reflected in AO number 36. Next slide, please. Dito na po makikita ang pondo na ating pong ibinayad para po masakupan ito pong mga benepisyong akin natanggap. So dito po sa first column, makikita yung benefit, tapos yung period covered September 15 to December 19. AHDP, Mr. President, ang atin pong na bayaran, we obligated 3,357,053,616. At ang benepisyaryo po nito ay 384,159 healthcare workers. So halo-halo na po yan. Nurses, doctors, mga medtechs, lab techs, etc. Dito naman po sa pero ito po sa actual hazard duty pay, ang malinaw po dito, yung actual na talagang na-expose po sila. Dito po sa patient care. At ito naman na special risk allowance na 3,210,833,000 thereabouts ay ang nakatanggap na po rito, Mr. President, 306,314 healthcare workers. On top of this, meron po tayong provision of accommodation, meals, and transportation na nagkakahalagang 1.26 billion thereabouts. Ang benepisyaryo po nito ay umabot sa 103,096 healthcare workers. At meron pa nga po yung life insurance na umaabot ng ang binayaran po ng ating gobyerno ay 16,269,000 thereabouts. At ang nakatanggap ng insurance na ito ay 32,281. Yun naman pong pangalawang benefit period covering December 19, 2020 hanggang June 30, 2021. Meron po tayong special risk allowance at dito po ang naibigay po natin ay 7.12 billion thereabouts. At ang nakatanggap po naman dito ay ang mga healthcare workers na 379,117. Ibig ko lang pong bigyan din na ang pagbibigay po ng special risk allowance ay qualified po ito under the law. At ang sinasabi po doon, yun lang po makakatanggap ay yung meron pong direct patient care, no? Direct care of COVID cases, no? So hindi po batay sa batas ay hindi po lahat nabibigyan. At dito po ang nagiging problema. Kasi marami pong mga healthcare workers na nagrereklamo at sinasabi nila sa isang hospital, halos para-pareho na exposure namin dyan dahil may mga COVID dyan. At dahil ho rito, Mr. President, ay minabuti po namin na kung hanggat sa maaari, nung nagkaroon po ng hearing sa Senado at ang Chairman Mike Aguinaldo ng COA, ay pag-uusapan po kung paano magkaroon ng liberal interpretation na parang hindi lamang po yung mga patients who are directly caring for COVID cases, kundi pati na rin yung mga iba ay dapat makatanggap. Dahil mahirap nga naman pong patunayan sino nga ba yung directly na nangangalaga. Halimbawa, janitor, pumunta sa loob ng isang kwarto ng pasyente, naglinis. Ayan ba ay patient, meron bang direct exposure yan doon sa COVID case? So, napakamasalimuot, napakamahirap. Kaya ang gusto nga po ng Senado sa hearing po namin noong isang araw at saka si Chairman Aguinaldo at sinang-ayunan ko naman po ay sana makagawa rin sila ng amyenda sa batas para mas liberal ang interpretation at lahat hanggat sa maaari ay makatatanggap. Because of this, Mr. President, ay ibig ko rin pong idagdag na yung pong mga ibang healthcare workers na nagreklamo mula po sa mga private hospitals dahil nga sa di umano hindi sila nakatanggap ng kanilang special risk allowance. At nagkaroon po ng budget request ang Department of Health sa DBM at matapos po mag-expire ang Bayanihan 2 funds ay ang DOH po ay patuloy na tumatanggap ng mga listahan ng mga eligible healthcare workers para po makatanggap ng SRA. Ito po ay galing sa mga iba't ibang ospital. Mga private po na mga healthcare workers ang karamihan po dito. Noong pong last August 13, ang DOH po ay sumulat sa DBM at maiging na maganda naman po andyan si Yusek Tina Kanda at kami po ay humiling. We requested for additional 311 million thereabouts, 311 million pesos to cover payment of additional SRA that would benefit more or less about 20,156 additional healthcare workers. At nung Agosto, ika-19 ng Agosto, ang DBM naman po ay tumugon doon sa aming pong kahilingan at sabi niya, sige, mag-submit kayo ng additional documents para kanila pong ma-evaluate yung request. At matapos nga po kaming nagkaroon ng hearing sa Senado at sa House of Representatives, ay nag-submit na ang DOH to DBM yung mga karagdagan submissions, yung mga listahan galing po sa mga facilities para po masama at sakasakaling mabigyan kami ng DBM o magabayan kami ng DBM kung saan kukunin yung pondo, ay makakatanggap po sila ng kanilang SRA. Yung pangalawang issue po, Mr. President, ay yung naman extension of mga contract of vaccinators. Tama po kayo, binanggit niyo kanina, kailangan po talaga natin ng mga bakunador. At nang sa ganon ay matulungan, masuportahan ang ating mga pamahalaan lokal na mas mabilis mapalawig nila ang vaccination coverage. Noong pong July 9, ang DOH ay humiling. Nag-request po kami ng 3.6 billion thereabouts additional funding support to cover renewal of contracts of human resource for health personnel under emergency hiring, at kasama po rito yung request ng 4,800 health workers para po sa vaccination program ng ating pong gobyerno, at ang katumbas po nito ay about 2.03 billion pesos. Noong pong last July 21, ang DBM naman po ay tumugon sa amin at binalik yung amin request. Sabi yung pending DOH submission of documents, at yun naman po amin sinunod. As of July 26, pinadala po namin sa DBM. At nag-follow-up letter po kami noong August 5 para po mapagpatuloy ang serbisyo nitong mga healthcare workers from September to December 2021. Ang panghuli na lang po na isa rin na matunog na issue patungkol sa mga COA observations, no, ay yung 59 billion na sinasabi nilang unutilized DOH funds. Ibig ko lang pong ipaliwanag, Mr. President, na yung naiulat na 59 billion peso unused DOH funds ay consist of 24.6 billion na unobligated funds, no? Na ito'y dinagdag doon sa obligated but undisbursed, hindi po na disbursed na funds na 34.5 billion pesos. At ito naman po, ang funding sources ay 2019 CONAP at saka yung pong 2020 GOP. Doon po sa 24.6 billion unobligated funds, 17.8 billion naman po ay kasalukuyang available po siya para gamitin ngayong taon. In fact, of this, ang nagamit na po ng inyong DOH ay 12.56 billion pesos. Katumbas po nito ay 72% noong 17.8 billion as of June 2021, gamit po ito. Bahagi din po nito ay inilaan para po sa procurement ng medicines at ang pagbayad ng mga sweldo at benepisyo ng ating mga healthcare workers. Doon naman po sa natitirang 7.19 or 7.19 billion, kami po ay humiling or we requested for reissuance from DBM of SARO for 4.7 billion under the Foreign Assisted Projects or COVID response. Samantalang yung 2.4 billion, ito po yung napaso. Lapse is our funds from the 2019 GAA and from Bayanihan 1 and some other laws. By operation of law, nag-lapse po itong mga ito. Ngayon, mapunta naman tayo, panghuli na lang po, doon sa 34.38 billion unpaid obligations. These funds were obligated before the end of 2020. At ito po ay gagamitin pambayad po sa mga goods and commodities pending deliveries. No? Naantay pa po yan, yung mga deliveries niyan, at bayad din po yan doon sa mga infrastructure projects for completion all for this year. So hindi po ito parang nasayang na hindi nagamit, tinagamit po ito. Ang mayorya, ang malaking bahagi ng budget na ito ay magagamit pa rin po dahil hanggang 2021 naman po ang kanyang application. So yun na lamang po, Mr. President, ang ibig kong iulat sa inyo, at kung may katanungan po kayo dyan ay pwedeng masagot ko po yan, at andyan din po si Yusek Leopoldo Bong Vega, Yusek for Administration and Finance. So maraming salamat po, Mr. President, sa pagkakataon.
Salamat po. Okay. May I make some statements for the public? This is in connection or a clarification of the alleged high-priced masks and face shields and the DOH transferred funds to the procurement service, PSDBM. Meron tayong taga DBM reacting kasi wala si masakitin na si abisado ay nag-quadruple ng niya ng operation, pati yung yung tinamaan talaga siya sa COVID. Totoo lang. Almost hospitalized for 10 days and 30 days immobilized. Tingin ko pagka yung volume ng trabaho nito sa DBM, yun ang papatay sa kanya. But in the Senate hearing, the procurement of the alleged overpriced face masks and shields, including the transfer of 42 billion from DOH to PSDBM, was brought up. Kasali ito sa investigasyon. According to PSDBM, these items were procured last March to April 2020 at the height of the COVID-19 outbreak, when the prices of the medical supplies, including face mask and face shield, skyrocketed due to the scarcity of the supply and the abrupt increase in demand. As for the transfer of funds without memorandum of agreement, FOA face masks and shields are included in the common use supplies and equipment and the list of the PSDBM. Under the Administrative Order Number 7, Series of 2011, in relation to Section 53E RA Number 9184 of the Procurement Reform Act, government agencies are required to procure CSEs directly from PSDBM. Moreover, under Government Procurement Policy Board Resolution Number 2019, dated October of 2018, government agencies are required to deposit cash funds with the PSDBM for the CE requirement, without the need of a MOA. Now, let me just, I think I remember, cabinet meeting tayo, pagka, right after I constituted the task force. I remember distinctly, sinabi ko kay Secretary Duque, bumili ka ng kailangan ng face mask or whatever is needed, equipments. Sabi ko, wag ka nang magbidding, matagal yan. Sabi ko, do it sabi mo, make it of record na utos ko. But despite of the order ko na wag ka na magbidding, it's pandemic, it's an emergency. Nevertheless, I knew later on that dumaan pa rin sa bidding si Secretary Duque. So, he was just being careful. Alam mo, sa totoo lang, nung pagputok nitong pandemic, walang mga face mask, walang face shields. Kaya sabi ko, maghanap ka, huwag ka nang magpa-bidding. Sabi ko, diretso na kasi in an emergency. So, at that time, it's always the law of supply and demand. Kung maraming supply, mura. Kung walang supply, less demand. Supply and demand. Is there a demand? Pag greater, supply. Ganito, so sabi ko sa kanya, huwag ka nang pabiding-biding, diretso na. So I want to make it of record to the public and everybody that I and the cabinet knew about it. My order, sabi ko, go ahead and buy the things that you need to fight the pandemic nga eh. So sabi ko, emergency ito. Emergency hanggang ngayon. So just to disabuse the minds of some people about corruption. It ain't here at this time. And I suppose that you are barking at the wrong person. Then the next that we would be interested to hear is Secretary Ramon Lopez of the DTI. He might want to help us explain the pricing of the mask and the face shields at the time. At any well, at what one time, at another time it became more expensive. Then there's then why it became cheaper, and eventually cheapest. Why was the parang ikaw yung alam mo yung mga presyo na yon at that time? So can you kindly explain to the public why that was the case?
Okay, thank you po Mr. President. Good evening sa lahat, Senator Bongo, Mr. President at sa ating mga kasama. Naalala po natin noon nung nag-uumpisa na pong lumala ang pandemya noong March of 2020. Prior to that, we started to get more COVID cases. Pero noong March 2020 po, the President will recall that yun po yung series of cabinet meetings and the time that you also declared a lockdown. I think it was sometime March 15 of 2020 last year. Being in lockdown, isa po sa mga eventually nire-require ng government at that time was pag-umpisa na nung pagsuot ng face mask. So eventually po this has been required to the public. So we can imagine na from practically zero demand, wala namang gumagamit ng face mask nung araw, to something like millions of users of face mask nung mga panahon po na yan ng March of 2020 onwards, of course until now po, no? But given the huge increase in the demand, we all remember that yung demand na to, and imagine po, wala pong local manufacturer niyan. Meron po isang local manufacturer sa Bataan, but it is an exporter, and all its products practically were exported. So we don't have a regular supply of face masks. If at all drugstores are just maintaining minimum inventory of face masks because it's not a regular requirement. So with the limited supply, as the President also explained earlier, and super increase, drastic increase in demand, nagkaroon po talaga ng scarcity at yung presyo po talaga nagtaasan. It was really uncontrollable simply because of the scarcity. Even us in the Department of Trade and Industry, and I know the Department of Health, the Department of Budget Management, we're trying to source also from imports at that time, I remember, because wala po tayong local supply. And even other countries are not even supplying us. Wala na ring makuha even from imports during those time of March, April, because they also needed the mask. Lumalala rin yung COVID dun sa mga iba-ibang countries na yon. So there was really a huge shortage ng mask at nag-canvas tayo sa iba't ibang bansa at that time. So at dahil po doon ay sumobrang taas ng mask to the point na I remember may papakita ko ako mga charts na during the time of mga March and April, the price of mask, imagine po, yung dati pong siguro wala pang 5 piso ay naging around 28 or more, about 30 pesos per piece of a mask, no? So may I request the Secretariat to flash the chart. Habang fina-flash po yan, even nung nag-try po tayong mag-introduce at mag-umpisa ng local manufacturing, nagkaubusan din itong tela mismo, trying to source the material. Because of the huge demand worldwide, may scarcity value rin, nagtaasan din ang presyo mismo ng materyales. So kung locally magagawa na natin, mataas ang presyo, kung bibilin din abroad, mataas na rin ang presyo because it was really a big demand po worldwide. Just to show po some slides, just to help us recall even the prices at that time. And I remember the DOH together with the DTI, nagtulong po kami na mag-set ng SRP, suggested retail price, at para ho ma-monitor natin yung presyo po nito because para makontrol natin yung pagtaas ng presyo even sa market. And we distinctly remember and we reviewed the documents, even mga news reports, if we can flash po the Secretariat can flash the charts. It showed po that at around March, we declared an SRP of 28 pesos per piece because the prices then were really going up even beyond 28 pesos. So at that point, 28 pesos was parang a suggested retail price or in effect a price cap at that time. So Secretariat, I hope you can flash the chart para lang mapakita natin the memo at in those dates. And also some newspaper reports that reported na itong mga presyo na to were happening during those days towards March and April na covered by different news media. Nevertheless, anyway, kung wala pa yung slides, after that po, at that point in time, hindi pa required din yung face shield. So wala pa sa picture yung face shield. But eventually, with the advice from health experts that are helping and advising the IATF, eventually, yung isang chart, yung isang set of slides. Eventually, ni-require na rin ang face shield. Ginawa pong siyang requirement. Ang una pong nag-require po noon, the other set of slides po, Secretariat, hindi yan. Ang una pong nag-require nung face shield sa transportation. There was a memorandum from the Department of Transportation, I remember, at nasa slides po natin yon. Dineclare po niyang required na ng mga tao, aside from face mask, to wear face shield para double protection, and the protection can, kung ang face mask ay about 80% protection, with the face shield magiging over 90%, 98% protection. Malit yung slides. So, ito po, I think this was an article going back to the face mask. It was a Sunstar article in Cebu at about that date. Maliit lang yung chart dito, hindi ko makita. March, certain day in March, na ang presyo po ay sinasabi dito 28 pesos. So maganda rin na nabalita yan. It shows us during those dates, yan talaga ang presyuhan noon. Yan nilagyan ng SRP. The earlier chart would show a memo also from issued by the Department of Health Secretary Duque, na we set the SRP at that time at 28 pesos. Ito po yung memo na yon. Okay, followed by the news article in Sunstar and another article in I think this is an ABS-CBN, TV Patrol type of article, setting again, reporting that the SRP at that time, March, middle of March, was 28 pesos. Next chart. Okay, and then ito na po, pumasok na po yung requirement, the need for face shield. The August, this is sometime August, Mr. President. This was sometime August, and we set the price of the face shield. I will just open my chart po dito dahil maliit yung chart dyan. So yung face shield po, DOH memorandum din po, this was August 14. And down below, pinabilog po natin, sinet po yung price ng face shield, 26 pesos to 50 pesos. But the following charts will show us, nagpa-price monitoring tayo at that time, Again, same reason po. From a zero demand to suddenly it is being required by almost the entire populace. Let's go to the last chart. The price monitoring that we were doing, you will see in the chart, on the last chart, that the price of price range of face shield, yung iframe, yung ganito po, no? Yung may iframe, nagre-range po at that time 50 pesos to 120 pesos. Yung merong foam, 30 pesos to 80 pesos, at yung helmet type ay 250 pesos to 350 pesos per piece. And then that's the reason why we had to set an SRP at that time in August, as mentioned po, that was required and set at 26 pesos to 50 pesos. Again, it's a memorandum signed by DOH. Dahil po DOH ang covered po ng DOH itong mga medical devices, and DTI helps them in the monitoring and ensuring that the retail establishment would follow the suggested retail price. But as we all know po, after that, Mr. President, nag-normalize na ang supply. Nakahabol na ang sama na yung importation. We were also able to develop local manufacturers of face masks, even of face shield. And that's the reason why we have already abundant supply of face masks until now, Mr. President. So the prices now are really very low. You would say that it's less than even, I think, less than 5 pesos, anywhere between 2 pesos to 5 pesos. But these are the prices now. After nag-adjust na po yung market, yung supplier, and the same demand continues kasi. It continues to be required, but at least po yung supply po natin nakahabol na. So yun po yung history na there were really days and months last year na nag-worsen talaga itong presyo. And it happens worldwide po, Mr. President. Nagkaroon po talaga ng worldwide shortage. That's all, Mr. President.
Secretary Lopez, thank you for the education of everybody, for the enlightenment. I would like to call on si Ms. Tina Rose Marie Kanda, DBM.
Yes,
Sir,
Mr. President.
Ma'am, sorry. Ma'am, nagkamali ba dito ang DOH? Is there any mistake or is there any whatever damage to prejudice to government interest?
No, Mr. President.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
There is no mistake on the part of DOH in terms of the amount they utilized. In fact, the findings of COA was underutilization of their allotment. Pero as explained earlier po, i-explain ko din further siguro, ang nangyari po, inad yung dalawang bagay na totally unrelated. Yung isa po tinatawag natin na obligation, yung unobligated tsaka undisbursed. Magkaiba po yun. Ngayon dun ho sa transfer naman ng pondo, at that point po, pandemic yun, wala na hong pumapasok sa opisina at that time ng ECQ. So I think DOH had no recourse but to transfer the fund to PSDBM at that time. And under the laws naman, talagang pag common use equipment, talaga pong sa PS yun ipoprocure by law, kailangan doon sa procurement service yun.
Yun lang ho, kung may idagdag ka, if you have some advice to the DOH or to us, we would be happy to hear you. Pagka wala naman, then sabihin mo lang na kung ano pang maidagdag mo, then we can excuse you.
Yes. Mr. President, just two things that was raised by Secretary Duque earlier about yung pong mga vaccinator at saka po yung pondo para sa doon po sa SRA. Doon po sa SRA, pwede po natin i-release yon mula sa Miscellaneous Personnel Benefits Fund kasi allowance po yon. Ang pangalawa naman po, yung sa vaccinator, part of that, meron kaming nakitang 1.6 billion sa DOH pertaining to 2020 na ano nila, na hindi nila nagamit, na handun lang naman po yun. Pwede nilang gamitin po yun. Tapos yung balansi po nung na kailangan, kasi 3.6 yata ang kailangan nila, pwede po natin kunin sa contingent fund. In fact, parang pa-forward na po, papapunta na po sa inyo para po sa approval, and siguro po hindi naman aabot ng 10 araw yon para matanggap po ng ating mga health workers yung kailangan na yun. Yun pong allowance ng vaccinator.
Well,
Yun lang
mabuti
po,
na,
Mr. President.
it's good that you mentioned about the sourcing of the funds.
Yes,
Kasi itong
sir.
contingent fund has always been being looked with suspicion. Not
Yes, sir.
only in Congress but with everybody, kasi contingent is parang malawak na parang anong gastusin mo. So these are the things that the public never really knew or know, na ito is to meet itong mga crisis na ganito. Good that we have the contingent fund because we responded to the emergency, which is really an emergency pandemic.
Yes, yes.
Na sabi ko nga sana, I'd like to say it again, that my order even to Secretary Duque was to go ahead and buy without bidding. But to his maybe thinking that it would create more problems, biniding niya. So, well and good. And nandyan yan. So, ito lang para just to clear up, because the people have the right to know where the money is.
Yes.
So, ito na yung sabi ko nga, because if we do not, actually if I did not call you to appear in public, there will always be some, hindi lang some, but many. It will linger on the minds of the people that kinukurakot yung pera. And at this time, pandemic pa. Tapos malaman nila itong mga ganito na conundrum of mas marunong. Mabuti marinig na nila. So, I'm happy that you joined us tonight, and you can be excused. Maraming salamat po.
Mr. President. Marami pong salamat, Mr. President.
Sabi nila, stricta ka daw, ma'am. Acting sa, sabi nila, mas mabuti. The stricter you are, the better. Mas malayo tayo sa sakit ng ulo, mas malayo tayo sa kaso, pag in-stricto tayo. So, continue being strict and continue being the protector of the people's interest. Thank you very much.
Marami pong salamat. Opo.
Si Yusek Leopoldo Vega, he used to be the director of Davao Medical Hospital. It's now a hospital of Southern Philippines something. But up to this day, tawag ko dyan Davao Medical Center. And it was during his time that, the enterprise improved tremendously. Yung hospital, it can compare with the private hospitals in the region. But before magsalita ka, Dr. Vega, just give me one minute. May lang ako, baka makalimutan ko. We've been talking about corruption. Alam mo, may bago akong, the name is Edgardo Masongsong. He is the administrator of the National Electrification Administration. I dismissed him from public service. The Presidential Anti-Corruption Commission conducted investigation and gave its recommendation to the Office of the President, to the Office of Executive Secretary, kay Medial Dia, to dismiss Masongsong from the service. Well, PACC conducted the investigation and made the recommendation for his dismissal. So I have approved. This is the pinakabagong sa yung administrator mismo ng National Electrification Administration. I'm sorry, but I said people are really skeptic and cynic about our desire to improve government service. We do not claim to maybe really totally clean government at this time, not even with another president or endemic ang corruption. But from time to time, so I'm given the opportunity to show to the people again that we are not bragging about it, but we are trying our best to cope up with the situation regarding graft and corruption in our government. Nasingit ko lang ito just to show to the people. Actually, corruption kasi ang lumabalabas nitong sa COA. So we have to correct that perception because it will destroy the faith of the people in government. That's one. And it's very important. The people must be informed, and they must realize that we are a working government. And we do not, I said, proclaim that it is graft-free. We are trying our very best to cope up. Certainly, itong DOH, wala ito. As I've explained, I have the same experience sa COA. It's their job, I know. So, nobody's to blame. Pero yun lang sabi ko, yung dadaanan ng isang buti lang yung kung ang makita ito mga to recall yung mga nadidemanda ng mga municipal mayor tapos ang treasurer auditor taga doon mahirap, they are reduced to penury to defend their cases in the Sandigan because they have to go there, and they have to sell their soul to the devil to raise the money just to be there. I said, whenever the case is called and you are not there, you are ordered arrested. And it requires expense. Hotel. Kung hindi taga Manila, wala kang matirahan, then you go to the lodging houses. I'm not trying to, pero they're reduced to, nandyan yung mga lodging houses sa Quiapo, sa this is not really, this is not to demean the situation sa tao. Ngayon, last speaker, ikaw na lang muna because apparently, you are the right person also to be asked about what has transpired and what are your recommendations, and after that we go home. Go ahead, Dr. Vega.
Thank you, Mayor. Maayong gabi, Mr. President, Cabinet members, Senator Bongo. It's a pleasure to be around to all of you. And Mr. President, I'd just like to report to you that the Department of Health has been very steadfast and very consistent in trying to implement Bayanihan 1 and 2 provisions, specifically for this pandemic. It is also good to note, as mentioned by Secretary Duque, that for the Bayanihan 2 extension from January to June, we were already able to give 379,000 healthcare workers for the special risk benefits po. So, and for the compensation of the death and sickness benefits, for Bayanihan 2, we have already provided about 23,000 of our healthcare workers. 114 of this have been death and 114 million has been given to them. So all in all, Mr. President, we have been trying really to make sure that the services of the Department of Health will really be felt and be felt by the people in terms of the frontline workers and of course in this pandemic. For the COA report, we take this seriously. The recommendations, we take this as a way of making sure now we can improve our services more because this will actually be better for our policy and reforms and fund management. And we all promise to COA that we will or commit to them that in 60 days we'll give them the necessary documents and the compliance that they need in terms of the implementation, because some of the implementation needed some supporting documents because of this pandemic. And also, Secretary Duque has also mentioned it in this meeting that there is a need for 3.6 billion for the health workers augmentation and to continue the health workers that we hired from January to June. So we must be able to provide them a support again from July up to December. And we would need 3.6 million because 10,500 workers are already positioned across the country as nurses, doctors, medtechs, and so forth. And we will also be adding vaccinators and biosurveillance officers to our list. So that is the reason, Mr. President, that we're asking for this fund so that we will continue with our response for COVID. And also we have also the Secretary Duque has also asked and requested DBM for the SRA for specifically for those private healthcare workers who are not able to receive, since some of the hospitals were not able to give their validated list to the regional office, because this is the basis for us to give the necessary allocation to the regions once they have the validated list of those healthcare workers tending to COVID patients. So we're asking them again to provide us the list. We're trying to compile this, and this would need about 300, I think 11 or 50 million to make sure that this number of health workers will be provided with the SRA has been given to their other co-workers in the health sector. So that is all, Mr. President. And we are very happy that the DBM has been consistently also supporting us. And the different agencies are all supporting us in terms of our response, because we do believe that our strategy of the PDITR, which is the prevention, detection, isolation, and treatment, is really the only strategy for this COVID-19. There's no other strategy but make sure that we are able to prevent this virus from transmission and definitely also increase our vaccination. That's all, Mr. President.
Before you go, kindly listen to me. This is why COA should be kind enough to understand the situation of the DOH and other departments of the executive department. Alam mo, it's not easy. By the way you narrated just ngayon, we are willing to pay, but you need to have the list and everything. At alam mo, you have to validate it. Ang validation yan, so with so many thousands, you cannot just come up with a list that's the final in 1 day or 2 days na ito na yon talaga. Kasi ang validation would take, I really do not know how you do it. But I commiserate with your, you have the shortcomings, I can understand. But ito lang ang tandaan mo. Magkalit-letse man sa buhay, we are just on track, serving the people. At yung ano lang ang kaya natin. Kung ano lang ipakita natin sa tao na humanly possible. So, kung if they refuse to understand or they understand the situation, I said, give us enough elbow room to move, because it's not, what you're asking is not easy really to come out with. And secondly, yung utos ko na bayaran lahat sa mga allowances and whatever, you can source it from everywhere you want. But ito yung you can get it from my contingency fund. And that's the reason why, again, you have to explain to the people na bakit malaki yan. Others are said that I was asking for it because I will use it as a campaign. Wala akong kandidato. Hindi ko nga alam kung sinong tatakbo. You know, yung bagay, politika eh. But I pity them because they can never be president. If these politicians behave the way they are now, I can assure you, they can never be an administrator of a country. Kung sila yung tingin ko, they will govern miserably. May kinabukasan, ang chief of staff, ang presidente na. Yung totoo talaga, alam mo, you're not the only one thinking about this country. These guys on the sides are watching you also. No, you do not allow the country to go into a downhill turmoil. We have to borrow, beg, steal. Basta maghanap ka ng pera, and any deficiency, I will supply it with the contingency fund, if may naiwan pa. Pero I'm willing to share the burden doon sa funds ko, independently of what you have. You just raise the money, tell me how much you still need, and if I can provide it, pay immediately. Papel lang naman yan eh. Or a phone call, the letter follows, kung ganon. So, mabayaran ka agad yung mga nurses, pati yung, ang tawag niya, vaccinator. That's
ano sir, mga healthcare workers augmentation, kasama na ho yung vaccinators po. Healthcare workers augmentation.
Basta mabayaran ninyo lahat, that will be billions. But look for the money, and I said I'm willing to share the burden with you. With that,
Salamat,
we
Mr. President.
end this meeting, and I'd like to thank everybody, these guys there. Thank you for sharing with us the time. At least I may not have given you the time to say something, but it's getting late, and ang karamihan dito sa namin is they are past their retirement age. Kaya nga nag-retire eh. Kaya nga dito nagtatrabaho uli. So, maintindihan ninyo that this is a mga matatandang, magiting na mga lalaki. Salamat, Dr. Vega. At good night to everybody.
Thank you, Mr. President.